Hey, real quick, this was recorded right before the video you're about to see. It's a quick shout out to some amazing content creators that really inspired this video. Big shout out to Scottzone. He is a huge inspiration for this video. It's heavily inspired by his most recent video, what he thinks about Final Fantasy XIV. He does a much better job at describing the game and going into detail. Highly recommend checking out the video. Big shout out to Zeppla HD or HQ, sorry. I use one of her examples that she used in a video describing combat in the game and the leveling experience in the game. And I think she did an absolutely phenomenal job. I'll link both of those videos in the description as well. Or her channel as well, both. Big shout out to Sonai. He is a huge inspiration for making the jump Fortnite to World of Warcraft, and that is a huge jump, just like what I'm doing, which is League of Legends to Final Fantasy XIV. So, like, a lot of my inspiration came from him and Scottzone, to be quite honest with you. They're both content creators that switched over to a different game. Sony specifically, just because he came from a huge, like a completely different genre. I'm still streaming League of Legends, and it's still going to be a main game, but I hesitated to introduce a new game, and him introducing a new game and to see him happy with it really inspired me. Same goes for Scottzone. So I just want to say a big thank you. Big shout out to Drag Gamestein for making the game always seem fun and adding a new hilarious perspective to it and to just enjoy it. You know, it's not so serious like people think it is. It's just a game at the end of the day. You're supposed to have fun with it. Thank you. Let's get on to the video. All right, we're really doing this. We're really doing this. Oh my God. Yo, what's up YouTube? Hope you're all having an absolutely phenomenal day. Welcome to Just an Unreal Dreamer's channel. I don't know if it's morning, evening, night. Hopefully it's going great. This is a different type of video, and we've released maybe 2 different videos that are similar to this. If you were a part of the last 2 Twitch streams, if you are a part of the Twitch fam, the Dream Team fam on Twitch, you would have noticed that I have not been streaming League of Legends. I've been streaming recently, the last 2 streams really, Final Fantasy XIV, Square Enix's hit MMO. And to be exact, the brand new expansion, Shadowbringers, which, by the way, can I just say is absolutely freaking amazing. It's so good. Oh my God. It's, I can go on and on about it, which is kind of what this video is for. I really wanted to have this on the channel for 2 reasons. The first being, just plain and simple, I love Final Fantasy XIV. And what I'm really trying to do with the channel, what I really want to share with you guys is I want to share with you guys my love and my hype, not only for you guys, not only for the community, but also like for gaming. And it's kind of a thing that connects all of us, right? And I think one of the biggest attractions to me when it comes to video games is the multiplayer aspect of video games. For one big reason, you interact with other people. And I am absolutely infatuated. If you're a part of the channel, if you know me, if you're a friend, if you're mom or dad, brother, Brendan, the moderators of the Dream Team, you would know I think I have a genuine addiction, a good addiction, I think, in my opinion, to meeting new people. I love it. And it's one of the biggest reasons why I love League of Legends. But this video is to talk about why I'm going to start streaming Final Fantasy XIV as a main title on the channel alongside League of Legends. League of Legends is not going away. I am not going to be doing less of League of Legends. League of Legends will be, like, to give you like numbers wise for those a part of the Dream Team fam, I will be doing a good 60% of my streams League of Legends, or 50% of my streams, right? On some occasions. It just depends when new content for Final Fantasy XIV comes out, right? The rest will be Final Fantasy XIV. Those are going to be 2 titles that you're going to see me alternate a lot. there's two big reasons why I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV right now. One, it's absolutely amazing. The expansion, I cannot say this enough. It is so fantastic. Two, I want to make sure that I'm being more consistent. Consistency is a thing that I am still trying to work on, especially for the YouTube channel, but also for streaming and just content creation in general. Heck, life in general, to be honest, but you know, who isn't? Dad's pretty much killing it. So is mom. I guess most adults that I know are doing a great job. Anyways, I'm really trying to be more consistent on the YouTube channel, and I really want to be more consistent with the streaming. And in order for me to be more consistent, specifically when it comes to streaming, I gotta make sure I love what I'm playing. And there's only two games that always bring me back: League of Legends and Final Fantasy XIV. Today, we're here to talk about why I love Final Fantasy XIV. Because, man, I love this game so much. I don't know how long this video is going to be. You guys would know because you can see the little thing like right there. It could be 5 minutes long. It could be 15 minutes long. It could be an hour long, honestly. I could honestly rant about why I love this game so much. So I want to start from the beginning. I want to start emotionally and mentally why I love Final Fantasy XIV so much. It has to go back to with what I said in the beginning, which is I have a genuine addiction and love to meeting new people. And obviously, Final Fantasy XIV is an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game, a great one at that. So naturally, you can meet just by logging in, just you loading into a city, up to 20 to 30 different people running and walking by you. You can just click on one of their characters and start talking to them. For all you know, that could become the greatest friendship of all time, or you might just end up learning something about that person. And that concept alone fascinates me. I fall in love with that, right? I've been playing MMOs since I was in, I want to say freshman year of high school. Middle school, 8th grade in middle school. I'm 21 now, if you want to do the math. And I never really played MMOs consistently for two reasons. One was there was so much content I would have to go through that it never really held my interest till the end, to the end game of MMOs, which is always preached to be like the greatest part. Usually, sometimes the leveling is the greatest part. Just depends on the person. But there was always a video game series that I played no matter what, and it was Final Fantasy. Mom, if you're watching this, moms, if you're watching this, dad, little brothers, you all know I love Final Fantasy to death. If you're part of the Twitch fam, I hype up Square Enix a lot. It's one of my favorite things, and Final Fantasy XIV specifically. So when I heard freshman year of high school that Square Enix had this MMO called Final Fantasy XIV, and I heard that it did absolutely terrible, and I tried the last few days, I dipped into it for like a week, Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, and I didn't like it. It was terrible, it was glitchy, the UI was ugly, it was all over the place. Combat was extremely slow. If you're savvy to MMOs, they had a system, they still have, but it's much better. A system called global cooldowns, right? And every time you would hit an ability, you would have to wait 2 to 3 seconds. To see a great visual representation, I highly recommend Zepla HD's video on Final Fantasy that she recently did. I think it's her last video, if I'm not mistaken. Link to Zepla below, that video specifically. It's a great one. She basically got ice cream and pistachios to symbolize how fast the combat is in Final Fantasy XIV, right? I don't want to go too much into it, but long story short, it's 2-second global cooldown per ability. Long story short, combat wasn't that great, so I left Final Fantasy XIV, right? And I would later hear that it was widely criticized as one of the worst games ever made. Square Enix was in a lot of financial trouble, and here comes a guy named Yoshi P, who the community regards him as Final Fantasy XIV, basically the resurrector of Final Fantasy XIV, right? And he comes in and completely changes the game, and they literally make it not only IRL, real life, they delete the original Final Fantasy XIV. You cannot find it anywhere, but they also remade it into a new game, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. And A Realm Reborn is literally Yoshi P making it so that the in-game lore of Final Fantasy XIV, this is going to blow your mind, him deleting the game is also what happens in the story of the game. I don't want to give spoilers, but long story short, something happens that wipes the realm, destroys the realm. And in the beginning of Final Fantasy XIV, if you were to play right now, A Realm Reborn, you enter A Realm Reborn. Crazy, right? And that concept to me, the fact that someone could come up with an idea like that sounded really cool. And it was Final Fantasy. I had already loved Final Fantasy and Square Enix a lot. So I tried the game out again. I still remember when I bought the game. It was for the PlayStation. And I had gone to IHOP with my mom. And I was talking about how I really wanted to get this game. And I realized it was like $30, I think, $40. It was $40 at the time at GameStop. And she said, well, if you get good grades, spoilers, I ended up not getting good grades that little semester. I'll get you the game. Or you can buy the game by yourself right now. I kind of knew I wasn't going to get good grades, so figured I might as well just buy it and save myself the trouble, right? Go to GameStop, I buy the game, and I'm looking at the back, and there's Chocobos, and there's fantasy, and all stuff that I love, right? And I go back home, and I load the disc in. And right when I load the disc in, I hear the Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn login screen. And it had the most ethereal soundtrack to it. Almost like you were entering a new world, right? And I make my character. Character creation is decent in the game. Just enough to give your character uniqueness, but not like super in-depth like a game like Black Desert Online, right? And I make my character. And we go into the game. And you see the cutscene of Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. You see that cutscene. And when you see the cinematic style of it, you can't help, no matter who you are, but be in awe of what's happening. You have these explosions and these meteors raining down with this dragon the size of a planet, literally bursting out of a planet, right? And you're already hooked from that moment on. You're like, whoa, what happened? And then I started to level my character. And I had the most amazing start to Final Fantasy XIV that I think any person could have, possibly. I don't know. I was extremely lucky, right? I was running around and I was doing these quests and I got lost. I didn't know how to get to the next person that I needed to talk to. I had no clue. I was completely lost in the game. And this is what hooked me, all right? I love talking to people. I love meeting new people. And specifically, I love talking to kind people. Who doesn't, right? And I had figured out how to type in the shout chat, which basically your message would be seen by anyone that was in the area. And I typed in the shout chat, does anyone know how to get to this next part of this quest? It was in Gridania. I was playing Lancer my first class. And these two people, Resora and Jacqueline, they messaged me, DM'd me in the game and was like, hey, I can actually give you a ride on my mount and I can take you to your next quest so you can do it. I was just like, that would be phenomenal. One, I don't have to like move, right? And two, like that just sounds so cool. I can ride on another person's mount. So sure enough, like they both show up and I get on this 2-person mount, right? And she takes me to my next quest. And just the fact that a random person in this community, right? I was brand new. I had nothing to give. I had maybe like 100 gil to my name, 100 in-game currency, which isn't much. It's about like 10 pennies in real life, I guess. And she just helped me out of the goodness of her heart. And then I do that quest, and Jacqueline, the other guy that helped me out along with her, comes up to me and crafts me a brand new set of armor just to help me out. I told him I didn't have anything to buy. Like, I couldn't pay for it or I couldn't trade him anything. And he goes, don't worry about it. Like, you're brand new to the game. You're doing us a favor by giving us something to do with helping people, which we enjoy. And that was just so awesome to see that. You know, it just puts you in a good mood, makes you feel part of the community. That's one of the biggest reasons why I like this game, is this sense of community and this super welcoming community, not just by them, but by everyone. I would later be invited to their free company, which is basically the guild of the game. And everyone, I mean, absolutely everyone in this guild and free company was super nice. Nora was the name of the free company. And everyone was just an absolute angel. The free company leader, Risora was in there, Jack was in there, Kyrie and Mina, I owe them so much. Those two people, Kyrie and Mina, long story short, helped me level and did dungeons with me that were way below their level, just to help me catch up and hang out with them at the end game from level 10 to level 50. And that took a month and a half, I think, to get to that. So for a month and a half, all they did was just help me out. And I got curious. I was like, is everybody like this? Did I just hit like the jackpot? And I started talking to like other players, and I started looking at the Final Fantasy XIV Reddit, and Reddit specifically, if you know anything about Reddit, you know, like it has like this, not every Reddit community, right? But for the most part, you tend to get criticized pretty quickly. It's like it's very raw internet, pretty much. And I went into the Final Fantasy XIV Reddit, and I was clicking on a bunch of posts just to see like what people post about, right? And almost every comment was super helpful, and it gave advice. And people just genuinely care about helping each other in this game. That is one of the biggest reasons why I love Final Fantasy XIV. Now let's talk about the mechanical gameplay reasons why I love this game so much. Combat. Combat is really cool. It is so freaking amazing when you make it to the end game of Final Fantasy XIV. At the time it was level 50, now it's level 80, which is pretty insane. But when you make it to end game, combat is so intense, and mechanics take so much strategy, and you have to have movement, you have to have chemistry with your teammates, you have to be able to communicate on the fly. And you're working together as a community. There it is again, that sense of community, right? On how to beat extreme difficulty bosses. Like when a new boss fight is released in endgame, you're not told what the mechanics are or how to beat it. The community has to figure it out. And that was so cool. And when you do a difficult fight, Dark Souls players, if you play Dark Souls, when you do a fight and you die to the fight 20 times or more, and then you beat it, and there's this sense, this feeling where you're just like, yes, you know, like, yeah, let's go, right? The sense of accomplishment, that alone hooks you for the next fight. Like, now you want to do the next fight, right? Add that on top of the fact that you figured it out as a team, as a group, as a community, and you just feel so ingrained into the game already. And that is why I love the combat in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, I'm going to be honest. From levels 1 to level 50, it is bad. You heard me right. If you're new to the game and you play for solely the combat, levels 1 to level 50 or 50, the video's mirrored. The combat isn't the greatest, okay? It's not the best. But let me explain. So, Zepla does this the best. I mentioned this earlier. But the system of the combat is global cooldown. So when you use one ability, all abilities that have global cooldowns, which almost all of your abilities from levels 1 to 50 are global cooldown abilities, have a cooldown timer on it, which basically means, if you're new to MMOs, that you cannot use the ability again until the cooldown timer goes off. It's basically like you start cooking the egg, that's you using the ability, and then you put the egg in the oven. I don't know why you would do that, but follow along. You put the cake in the oven. Let's go with the cake. You put the cake in the oven and you hit start. And that's the start of the timer because you just used the ability, right? In order for you to use your next ability, which is taking out the cake, right? You have to wait until that timer goes off. The average time for all global cooldown abilities, for most of them, is 2.33 seconds or 2.35 seconds. To give you an idea at how this looks like, this example, this specific example, comes from Zepla HD. She's a phenomenal content creator. Please check her out. Link to her below or somewhere on the screen. Probably right there, most likely. It's like taking a peanut and the ability is you eating it. When it's off cooldown, you can eat the peanuts again. That's how fast your combat is. I guess that's how slow your combat is. It's not the most entertaining thing, right? Like after a while, it gets monotonous. And when you only have 2 to 4 of these abilities at once, it can get a little grindy. That's just the truth. Levels 1 and 50, it's not the greatest experience. But at level 50, the combat becomes absolutely amazing. It's intense, it's fast, it's rapid, right? You got these crazy gorgeous animations. If you're playing Black Mage, you got explosions the size of like Megumin's explosion, right? You're basically Megumin, right? And you gain abilities called off global cooldown abilities, which basically means that you can use these in between your global cooldown abilities when they're on cooldown. So basically you have one peanut and then you get a scoop of ice cream, right? Again, taken from Zepla. You eat the peanut. And that's basically the speed at which your abilities, your ability usage goes. I'm gonna cut this out. So it picks up. It really does with off global cooldowns. At level 50, the combat starts to get better. You just gotta push through. I highly recommend, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to Final Fantasy XIV, you're thinking about picking the game up, and all you care about is combat. I promise you the combat and the mechanics of boss fights is some of the best you can find in many MMOs. To give you an idea of how many MMOs I've played, Black Desert Online, Terra, Bliss Online. I played a little bit of World of Warcraft, specifically during the Mists of Pandaria expansion, if I'm not mistaken. I'm missing one more MMO besides Final Fantasy. I played like 5. Anyways, I played a good amount of MMOs, and I really think that Final Fantasy XIV is one of the most unique and genius combat systems I've seen in a video game. It's really good. Is there one that's better? Yes, Black Desert Online. I think they got the best combat. If all you care about is combat, I recommend Black Desert Online. But here's the next part. This is the top 3 reasons why I love Final Fantasy XIV. The first was that sense of community and meeting people. The second is the combat. But the third, and honestly it might be the second, part of the big 3 is the story. The story in this game, oh man, it's something else. I've read the Harry Potter series. I've read the Percy Jackson series. I loved Percy Jackson. I love the story of Final Fantasy XIV more than any other series I have ever played, I have ever watched. I'm more invested in the story emotionally then I can't believe I'm saying this. Am I really going to say this? Look, please don't dislike the video after I say this. I am more emotionally invested in Final Fantasy XIV, the story of Final Fantasy XIV, than I am the Avengers movie trilogy, which is ridiculous to think about because I absolutely love the Avengers. I love Spider-Man. If you know me, I am a big Spider-Man and Robert Downey Jr. fan / Iron Man. Huge. I'm more invested in Final Fantasy XIV. It's so good. It really is. But I'm gonna be honest, the first 50 levels is, and it's part of the reason why the story is so good. The first 50 levels of Final Fantasy XIV is... Ooh, we got blurry. Okay, we're good. The first 50 levels of Final Fantasy XIV, just like the combat, is monotonous. It can be boring. You have fetch quests, a lot of fetch quests. You will despise the name. I'm not going to say it just for spoilers reasons, but there's going to be a certain character in the game that is kind of notorious in the community for giving you a ton of fetch quests. When you see that character, you're going to have a love-hate relationship with them. Just saying. There's a ton of fetch quests, which means you go from point A to point B and you give something. And that's literally all you're doing. Like, it's not fun. It's not. But in between those fetch quests, you have a lot of world building. They have dialogue that are describing how the world of Final Fantasy XIV, how the realm, Eorzea, which is the name of the realm, right? How Eorzea works. And it's little things like how a city functions, from its merchants and its traders to how Aethernet crystals work, how you teleport around the city, the mechanics behind magic, the lore behind magic, the lore behind the warriors in the military. Like, they go into extended amounts of detail in this game and describe every little minute detail and aspect of the story and of the world, that it can get monotonous. It can get boring. It can get repetitive almost. But you have to push through. If you appreciate good story, this is what's going to happen if you push through. You make it through Final Fantasy XIV, levels 1 through level 50. You're going to hit 2.3. I want to say 2.3 is when the story starts to pick up, right? And the story starts to pick up. And now you have serious consequences to the world. Things are happening, and if you do not help out, certain things will happen, right? And then you realize, wait, why do I care so much about what's going to happen to something in a video game? And unbeknownst to you, all that world building, you going through all of that information that Square Enix puts in your head with these fetch quests from levels 1 to 50. And you realize you've fallen in love with the world. Why? Because you know so much about the world. You know how the city works. You've gotten to know the people, their little stories, and you get emotionally invested in them. So when you start to see the consequences of things happening in the game, of you not helping out or you helping out, you end up helping out these characters in these cities that you now know everything about. And you become emotionally invested. You start to emotionally care for these cities. And that feeling that you're a part of that is what makes the story so good. And then that's when the first expansion hits, Heavensward, right? And the story gets insane. That's all I want to say. I want to keep the spoiler free, but all you have to know is you start to witness the true ability of Yoshida's story, or not Yoshida specifically, but his team's story writing skills. It's some of the best across Final Fantasy, period. Especially after this new expansion, Shadowbringers. I haven't finished it. I think I'm 75 at the moment. No, I'm level 74. I gotta hit 75 to continue the story. It's insane. And it's insanely good. Not only is the story writing phenomenal after you get to the first expansion around level 60, right? But you're now emotionally invested because you've been learning about the world from level 1. Basically, you are living the day-to-day life of a mercenary that becomes slowly the protagonist of this story, right? You are the protagonist of the story, but it's not you start as a protagonist. You're just a normal guy or gal where things happen and, things happen and you become the protagonist, the hero. You emotionally care about these people and the cities. And then you combine that with the amazing story writing that comes during the first expansion. It's one of the greatest stories ever. After Shadowbringers drop, I follow Drac Gamestein, another amazing YouTuber that I highly recommend. He tweeted out that this might be, I don't know the exact tweet, I'm paraphrasing. This might be, or this is, I think it was this might be the greatest story across all of Final Fantasy. Or was it Golden Tot? I think it was Drac. I could be getting the person wrong. Look, if I put words in your mouth, I apologize. I probably should have looked this up. Like, that is insane. If you know anything about Final Fantasy XIV or Final Fantasy, it is regarded as one of the greatest story writing series in gaming history. That is a fact. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. I would love to talk to you about it. So for someone like that to say that this might be one of the greatest stories I've ever seen in Final Fantasy, that lets you know the story is legit. It's really good. You got multiple millions of people that play this game consistently, actively. I highly recommend it. I love Final Fantasy XIV. I do. It's so good. And I could go on and on. And I can drag this video out longer than I need to. But those are the 3 biggest reasons why I love Final Fantasy XIV. It's the combat, which really picks up after level 50. You got to push through. Once you get through the first 50 levels, it's worth it. Or if you want to spend some money and you want to skip the leveling process, I don't blame you. I really don't. You can buy a job potion for $25. It'll instantly level you from level 1 to level 70. But if you can stick with it, if you can get to level 50, save yourself $25. Save yourself some money. Buy yourself 5 coffees, 5 lattes if you're into coffee. I know I am. It's worth it. It's so good. And if you're new to the channel, or if you're a part of the Twitch fam, and this video didn't do a good enough job at describing why I love Final Fantasy, feel free to let me know. Feel free to comment below. Feel free to DM me. The second of the 3 is the story. The story is great. There's a lot of world building in the first 50 levels. I highly recommend. Do not skip a single thing in the first 50 levels of story, of main story quest. You will regret it. You're going to miss these little references that calls back to the first 50 levels. And you're not going to have that emotional connection. If you don't care for story, if story is not your thing, Final Fantasy XIV might not be for you. That's one of the biggest reasons that keeps bringing me back after I've completed all of the content. And after story, it's that sense of community. One of the main games on the channel is League of Legends. And there's a huge community of League of Legends people, players. huge. It's insanely big. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest esports in the world, right? I think Fortnite is one of the biggest viewed on Twitch, but League of Legends is arguably the biggest esports in the world. So the community is ginormous, but it's known to be toxic. It's not known to be welcoming. You might get lucky. There are some good, honest people in the League of Legends community. There are. But Final Fantasy XIV, the majority of people in this community actually care about one another. And it's amazing. It's so nice. And you end up becoming friends with so many people, and you end up meeting so many people. And it makes the experience so much better because now you're sharing the hype about the story with that community, right? And now you're sharing the hype of the combat, or you're giving each other advice on how to improve your combat and your ability rotations, right? And that only further fosters the sense of community. Combat, past level 50. Story, play level 1 through 50. Do not skip the story. You will highly regret it. I promise. And community. Those are the three greatest parts of this game. The top three. The fourth is kind of a mini one, but it's kind of important. Everybody loves consistency. There is nothing worse for a gamer, in my opinion, right? When you buy a game, you beat it, and you have to wait 6 months for a DLC, and you beat the game within a week, and you have absolutely no idea what you're going to do for the next 6 months. And then that DLC comes out, and then you beat it within a week, and then what do you do now? You drop another $60 for another game, right? Final Fantasy XIV constantly releases patches every 2 to 3 months. Scottzone, an amazing content creator, I'll link him below too. He does a better job than I do in describing how consistent they are in releasing content in comparison to other MMOs. He said it best in his video when he said, a lot of MMOs have a chaotic, sporadic release schedule for new content. Final Fantasy is consistent. Their communication with the community is insane. They have a fan festival every single year. And it's nuts for a video game developer like Yoshida, like Final Fantasy XIV team, to communicate with the community in the way that they do. And yeah, those are the 4 reasons why I absolutely love this game. It's so good. I highly recommend it. If you've been holding off on playing Final Fantasy XIV, if you've been holding off on playing an MMO, this is one of the greatest first MMOs and might be the last MMO that you'll ever play. Might. Who knows? Final Fantasy XIV Killer could come out tomorrow, but I doubt it. Granted, I'm invested in Final Fantasy XIV, so it's going to take a lot. I recommend it. I do. You won't regret it. And if you do, let me know in the comments below. But please just try it. Try it for the first 50 levels. Find a free company. Find a guild that accepts you for who you are. Free companies are guilds. Find a group of people to play the game with, right? And add that on top of the amazing story and the combat, and you will love this game the way I love this game. If you're into this type of game. If this helped you out in any way, or if you enjoyed the quality of this video, it's something we're trying to work on, or if you have any advice, feel free to leave a like, a dislike on the video. Let me know in the comments below. I'm new to content creation, but I really just wanted to share why I love this game, why I love Final Fantasy XIV. And this new expansion that just dropped is so good. Oh, it's so good. It's amazing. It's genuinely amazing. I'm gonna have to do that in a separate video because I could go on a rant. Not a rant, but just like a huge discussion on why I love Shadowbringers. My roommate knows. He doesn't care anything about gaming, and I've just been constantly telling him, dude, this game is so good. But yeah, I think I'll leave that for another video. to my amazing community that still supports me even after I introduce a completely different style of game into the Dream Team, into the Unreal Dreamer channel. I am so grateful. Thank you for all the support that you show. I really love this game. I hesitated a lot to play this game. I really did. Or to stream this game. I really did. But I want to be more consistent with the content. I really do. And I'm trying. And the only way I can do that is to make sure I'm constantly playing the things that I love. And yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like. If you didn't, dislike. Let me know in the comments why. Or if you have any questions about the game, about Final Fantasy XIV, leave a comment below or DM me on Twitter. Links to socials below. If you want to try the game, you need a guild / free company to join, or you just want someone to show you the ropes to help you out the way I was helped out when I first played this game, let me know. I would be glad to spend however much time is necessary to help teach someone else, pay it forward, how awesome this game is. Or if you just want someone to play with, feel free to add me on Final Fantasy XIV. Jason Hunter is my username in game. I'm on the Mateus server, Mateus. Join, feel free to find me. If you wanted, the best way to get in touch with me is on Twitter or Discord. Links to those below. Or Discord is an amazing community. And just let me know you're interested. Let me know you found me through this video. I think that's it for today. By the way, it's like 3 a.m. Sorry if I seem tired. Have an awesome night, guys. Thanks for watching Just an Unreal Dreamers channel. Thanks for being a part of the Dream Team fam. Love you all. Have a great night. Deuces.